I do want to take a point of privilege here. First of all, thank you for being here at my channel. I really appreciate it. I am by trade a teacher. I teach history, and I'm really passionate about knowing that our past informs our present. Our past informs our present. And I just want to take a moment here because there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot happening right now. It's information overload. But I did want to take a moment because something happened today that I do want to address. And it harkened me back to a time where I used to read a novel back in grade school called 1984. And I kind of want to share some thoughts with some of the parallels that I see. Now, today, we heard that news broke that Don Lemon and another journalist were arrested and while covering a story in Minnesota. Now, this event went viral. It made the news coverage and everyone knows about it. Now, I'm not saying we're living in those times and, we're living in that Orwellian world. But moments like this make the themes of that book, 1984, feel very, very familiar. Less like fiction and a lot more like a warning, okay? Now, today I want to explore why the arrest of these journalists hit such a nerve with me. Now, with 1984, what it does is it teaches us about the relationship between power and information, government, and the free press. Why a free press matters so much in any democracy, in a society that calls itself any type of democracy. Now, reports say that Don Lemon and another journalist were detained trying to document events on the ground during a protest. Now, the details are still unfolding and every side of this story has its own nuances, so I want to be careful about what I share. But here's the part that matters for this conversation. Journalists were stopped from doing their job. I want to say that again. Journalists were stopped from doing their job, gathering information and sharing it with the public, you and me. Now, that's where the connection to 1984 kind of begins with me right here, okay? Most people remember 1984 for the Big Brother and the telescreens and the idea of constant surveillance. But the heart of the novel is actually controlling the truth. Does that sound familiar? Okay. In Orwell's world, the government controls the information. The government controls the language. And by controlling both, it controls reality. Okay? There was a line in the book that captures this perfectly. It says, if I can remember correctly, it says, who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. Something to chew on. In other words, if you can control what people know, you can control what people believe. This is why the arrest of journalists, any journalist, raises an alarm for me, okay? A free press acts as a barrier between the public and the unchecked power. The public and unchecked power. Journalists document what's happening, ask the very uncomfortable questions, and make sure that the public, me and you, sees more than one version of the events. Now, when journalists are detained and restricted or denied access or intimidated or even temporarily, it sends a very clear message to us, you and me, that information is becoming harder to access, okay? And that's exactly the kind of environment Orwell warned us about. In 1984, the government doesn't hide the information. It rewrites it. It punishes people who try to reveal the truth. It labels independent thought as dangerous. Now, I'll say this. I'm a big Star Trek, Trekkie, however we are identifying ourselves these days. I love Star Trek. But in that show, it gives us lessons about this kind of society and this kind of thought. And there's a antagonist in that show known as the Borg, where individuality, individual thought is against everything that they believe. Now, if you're a Trekkie and you know the Borg, you know exactly what I'm talking about, okay? resistance is futile, if you know what I mean. When journalists say that they were arrested while documenting events, it echoes the same tension that Orwell was talking about in his book. Who gets to decide what the public is allowed to see? I don't want no one doing that for me. When information becomes inconvenient, does it get restricted? What coverage becomes uncomfortable? Does it get stopped? These are the questions that 1984 forced us to ask ourselves. Moments like this remind us that freedom of the press isn't automatic. It's something that has to be protected, respected, and sometimes, like right now, we gotta fight for it. We absolutely have to fight for it. Whether you agree with Don Lemon or not, whether you like journalists involved or not, the principle is the same. A society that limits what journalists can show is a society that limits what citizens can know. And that's why 1984 still matters today. So, when I saw those arrests, I didn't just see a news story. I saw a reminder as to how fragile the truth can be, how important it is that we defend the people whose job it is to uncover those truths for us.